Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to today's episode. The title is Levels to the Journeyer's Mind. There was this psychologist, which I can't remember his name. I read this book years ago, but the person had explained a sort of view on memory, how the memory of the human being occurs. That it's as if you take, let's say, a block of jello, let's say some jello, a cube of jello, and you pour with a spoon filled with hot ink. You pour the hot ink in the spoon on this jello. Imagine a cube of jello and you pour hot ink. The hot ink goes in the jello and makes a dent. The hot liquid burns through the jello, makes a dent, then stops. Now, what this psychologist had done was they had poured another spoon of hot ink on already the pre-made dent of the first spoon. And the person was suggesting that that's kind of like life and our memories and our experiences, that as we are experiencing the moment, it's like that hot ink pouring on the jello making a dent, you know? So what does that mean? That means we are tunneling through our experiences. We are tunneling through our memories. We're not remembering them as exactly as they were. We're tunneling through our experiences of life. You wake up one day, you have a certain experience, then it's as if the next day another, hot ink is poured. Now, I want to infuse this idea of the hot ink with the jello thing with the notion of Matsuyo Basho, where he says the journey itself is my home. That means the meaning of the levels of life, the dimensions of our life are right there. Just like how when somebody is in pain, the meaning of life is, yeah, it's obvious. It's you're going through an experience. I remember this point came to me when I was listening to Jordan Peterson. He's like, somebody in pain, you ask them what the meaning of life is, they get angry at you. Because the meaning is very obvious in that moment. The pain is a stimulus or leading to the meaning, you can say. Ever since we could speak, we have been in the game of meaning. We have been in a sort of game of looking at objects and having them mean something other than what they are. We can say even the human being is so advanced that it not only is aware it is an object, it not only perceives itself as an object, it perceives others as an object too. That means when you look at a person's facial gestures or their eyes or their attention, you're kind of seeing a different movement of the existence of the moment. That's the remarkable thing about this life. I sit here on one side of the coin and I share these talks, and on the other side I have no idea who hears, how they hear, when they hear, what they hear. So Matsuyo Basho says the journey itself is my home. And it's similar to what Alan Watts says, that you don't listen to a symphony or a song just to hear the ending. You don't live life just to get to somewhere only. Life is like every key on the piano being hit in every moment is valuable. It's all in the symphony of the rhythms of living, if I can say that. That means in this life you start off as very a bit robotic. I think everybody starts like this. You start off robotic because you don't know what the world is, and you don't even know what yourself is to even notice it in the world. When I was younger, I didn't know myself. And now when it came to the world, and there's sometimes the world can be cruel. And when I say the world can be cruel, is that the world can skip events ahead of you. What that means is some person tries and suddenly sees he falls behind. Or it's another way of saying, if 50%, if 100% of your effort as a human being leads to 50% the result, you need 200% effort to make it to 100%. So you see, regardless of what we consider about intelligence, the cool thing about articulation reasoning is that if you take your time, you will see what something is. Many people, they feel they are their self. But they don't realize many ideas and notions and things they have just emotionally felt something and believed in a certain, like in youth, I can say the first dualistic language we actually speak as creatures is emotion. It's temperature. For me, emotional intelligence has to do with temperature. When I'm cold, it's easier for me to become sad. When I'm hot, like it's like when my physical body is like the body temperature is really not like, I don't mean feverish, but I mean like when I'm just like, when I feel the room is hot, it's like in those moments I can tell you the thoughts. Even somebody could come and tell me bad news or whatever, but it's like I can't even get sad when I'm hot. It's strange. It's like the body temperature does something to the psychology. And children, what happens? They cry and they're embraced by the mother. Literally, young children need to be engaged as human beings. The cruelest thing that humanity can do is leave a child alone when they're a child. When I say leave a child alone, I mean, of course, there's many kinds of people on this planet. Every person has to be street smart and realize it's a concrete jungle. But at the same time, I'm saying that children require engagement. You know? That means unlike deer and other animals in nature, like you see a baby deer be born, the baby deer knows how to walk straight from the womb. The baby deer has the genetical memory conscious, so it knows how to walk. But you see, the human being doesn't know how to walk. We have to teach a child. It's fascinating. We have to teach a child to walk when it can stand on its own. How fascinating is that? When the child can stand on its own and is taking steps, that's when the help comes. Help, I would say, in this life, if you try something honestly and you endure, you get to see your karma, which is a rare privilege. I feel honestly most people are not seeing their karma as a being. They're in the karma of the environment or the karma of the language. So anyways, if life is not something that we are just trying to get to the end, then it means every level requires attendance and attention, requires the attendance of your attention. The first level requires a conscious form. The day begins when we wake up, when there is something of certainty, visual certainty, sensory certainty. Once there is sensory certainty, then the inner realms can be placed upon the outer realms comfortably. Seldom do we realize attention is the source of life. to the person. Maybe the heart should speak first. From unknown and uncertainty, there is levels of just attempt. A lot of the side, you can say that the human mind, if the human being looks at this world and sees, for example, Brahman, the archetype of creation, sees Vishnu, the archetype of maintenance, and sees Shiva, the archetype of destruction. These are faculties of the mind. It's as if the gods we saw outside were actually behind our eyes, where the world seems to be as well. Because light enters our eyes. Light enters our eyes. In the conscious waking state, we can pilot. In the dream state, sometimes we can pilot. In the deep sleep state, we are the co-pilot. You can say Carl Jung's archetypes of the conscious and the unconscious. The conscious is the main pilot, the main experiencer, experiencing the moment. And the co-pilot is the world moving you. I can tell you, sir, from my experience, 100%, there is moments in life where not only meaning is born, meaning can also be destroyed. And that's what change means. Change means the world never means one thing. So we're trying to actually speak about a mind which is a changing event that is correlating with fragments of experiences of self that have been etched into the long-term memory. Not a lot of people realize this, but when it comes to remembering, they have noticed that it's easier to remember a journey rather than just a specific thing that's just meaningless. That means something that has a beginning and an end, something that the person can pinpoint technically, they remember. For example, there are people who memorize a deck of cards. A deck of cards, that's challenging. To memorize a deck of cards exactly, and they memorize it in a way where they can also remember it backwards. Now, I personally attempted this. I couldn't memorize a deck of cards, but I could memorize any list using the same technique. I don't use this technique in my talks. But it's like certain times if I have to quickly memorize something, I use it. And what the method is that you see in your, so if you were to, I'll tell you the method of memorizing a deck of cards. You know, I can't do this, but I'll tell you the method. I know what the method is. The method is called a memory palace, and the notion of it is that you visualize your house. So, for example, whoever you are, you're in your house, outside of your house. Visualize the rooms of your house like you're a drone, as if a drone vision flying through the rooms of your house. So this is how it would start. Where in your inner realms, you're visualizing your room, which is very easy to remember. You know, that's the whole point of it. That you are it's like a you start with a location you remember, and then you identify and make it abstract. So I mean, there isn't enough people to engage, but if a bunch of people said a random bunch of names here, I would be able to give an example. Okay, let's say, for example, Apple. I'll make a list here. Hypothetical list. Let's say Apple. Helicopter. And let's say notebook. Okay. For example, three objects: Apple, helicopter, notebook. Okay, let's say I mean, the list could be whatever amount, it doesn't matter the list. It's just that the house has to be bigger. So if you're memorizing a deck of cards, you got to envision yourself walking through a city. If you're remembering, let's say, a small list, you got to envision yourself walking in a house or something. And how it would start is, imagine you want to remember Apple, so you got to make the experience abstract so you can remember it. Okay, so it enters the long-term memory. So let's say you start from your bedroom in your inner realms. You visualize your bedroom and you see a giant apple there. You walk past the giant apple, you go outside of, let's say, your bedroom, you go into the hall, and then from the hall, on the hall, you see, like, let's say, small 10 mini helicopters. Okay, you see 10 mini small helicopters just hovering in the air. Then as you go down the stairs, imagine your house has stairs. As you go down the stairs, you see this elder scroll parchment that has rolled down from the top of the stairs to the bottom. Do you know? So right now, if somebody was to tell me this list, you know, I could even make the list bigger, you know. But if you would suddenly, if you were to remember, you now, because you have walked, because in your inner realms you were walking through a location, it was a subtler inner realm experience. Now you can, whenever you're trying to remember the list, let's say an hour from now, those three abstract things I told you, you're going to remember. Why? Because it's like the abstraction of it is the reason. So what that means is, if I think about the list, I suddenly imagine a giant apple, for example, in the on the bed of the bedroom you started, or suddenly the small helicopters, or the Elder Scroll, which is the notebook. That way, when you go to the store or wherever you go, because you've had an abstract inner realm relationship with the object is lingering for the day. Or not for the day. If it gets etched into your long-term memory, you won't forget it. There's some things that I have experienced in my life that it's like those experiences can't be forgotten. It made too much of a dent on the primary, you can say, on a subconscious archetype. So anyways, the whole point of me sharing this was to tell you the value, and when we start looking at things as a journey, our comprehension of its levels become different. You know, and not just as a journey that we want to look at the end, but a journey where in every step of the way there is a relationship with the moment. That's what consciousness means. Consciousness means you're having a relationship with existence as an unknown experiencer. And as you look at the known existence, where we extract meaning, definitions, all our technologies from, there is the unknown. So technically, there is an unknown existence and there is an unknown experience simultaneously going on. the unknown existence, the edge of the sky we can't see, the actual sky. And you can say the unknown experiencer is the spontaneity and how meaning requires an instant of engagement before it can arise. So I would say true meaning, right now we're speaking about things conceptually through language, but we may get to a point in the future generations, hopefully get to a point where it becomes instant. Their knowing becomes instant. What that means is, imagine, like, it's going to be like Matrix literally, where Neo suddenly knew Kung Fu. It was as if it was all uploaded. So you can say a person who throughout the day in their inner realms receives an image, and somebody who in their inner realms they hear a sentence, or some sort of conceptual linguistic kind of feedback in the inner realms. It would be the person who sees image is actually, they have a higher antenna signal. Those people who think through images, that means when they look at a phenomena, so what that means is light hits an object, enters their eyes. As they recognize the object, that mere object's recognition in the inner space also can lead to images. That means really the here and now, as the New Age community says, or the present moment of our being, it is a practice. It is a practice tool. You can say human existence is a pre-training of a multidimensionalhood. Because here's the thing. It seems like the body, if we saw mind-body dualism, the body is designed to be separate. The mind only exists to be the same. Because if we want it to be chaotic, we don't need a mind. Have you noticed that you can be evil very easily because it's mindlessness? It's like you're not, it's laziness. Evil is lazy. What I mean by lazy, I don't mean like there could be evil people who are very disciplined, but it's lazy because you can say it's not just lazy, it's incompetent because it hasn't found an efficient way to do something, you know? Isaac Asimov says this: violence is the last refuge of the incompetent. That means literally when you see a violent person, you're actually seeing a stupid person. That means nothing suggests stupidity more than violence, you know? And somebody may say, hey man, survival of the fittest, evolution, you better find the big stick. I'll tell you, it's foolishness. It's foolishness if there's 0 point, whatever amount of zeros you want, 1% chance it's multidimensional. If the system is multidimensional, then the certainty of the dimension we think we're in, or we think that's only here, is wrong. So what that means is, I thought we were in a box. I can say that modern culture is telling you we're in a box. They're seeing the universe as a sort of, container. You can see that the mystics saw the universe as void. And now I'm wondering what next. And I'm realizing the thing is that we have to go through a multidimensional chapter. It's literally like yin and yang. We've experienced individual objectivehood. The next phase is to experience collective subjectivehood, but experientially. So the existence and okay, I'm going to create a word here just to make this easier. The experiencer and the existencer. The experiencer and the existencer. I want to say existence like experiencer, but it doesn't sound the same. Existencer. You know, it's a very uncommon concept because existence is not seen as a verb. Existence is seen as a noun. Experience is seen as a verb. Experience is based on motion. Existence doesn't need to move to exist. So you can say energy that it cannot be created or destroyed, but changes from one form to another. That energy is literally like existence. And the forms it changes to is experience. So technically, this plane of existence is energy. You know, this plane of this dimension is it's the energy. It's not the mind. That means we have access to existential change, experiential change, which it requires the free will and requires a sensitivity to how the life is informed or informed. For me, my memories seem to be the trail of my mind. My past is like my footprints. My memories are like my footprints, you know, the footprints of my mind experientially in existence. But my visualization, you know, that means if somebody told me, if you had a time machine, would you go to the past? Would you not use it, stay in the present, or would you go to the future? I would instantly go to the future. Not even a question. Not even a question of going to the source. Because the source, of course, you can go back to it, but then you'll never know what the ending was. But if you see how if you see how the ending was, you'll know your beginning. So in this life, it's kind of like a dream where it's like we suddenly emerge as human beings. I would say we use the verb birth. We're born into this world, but I'm telling you, the body is born, the mind awakens to the body. And usually your memories begin when you can see yourself ideologically as a character. That means we don't realize how much naming a child is giving the child the ability for the sophisticated use of language. The declaration that one is of something means that they suddenly feel because they're of it, they can be it, you know? Or not be it, they can do it, you know? It's like when King Arthur realized he was King Arthur, he could pull out Excalibur. But before that, before he had realized he could, I honestly think life is like Excalibur, the sword and the stone is the perfect metaphor. Okay, so there was an issue with my stream software, guys. Okay, is it working? Yeah. All right. So, anyways, we are a journeyer in space and time. We have a mind. This mind uses language, uses a sort of relationship, sort of method to identify levels and classify the world. Now, when we consider the inner realms and outer realms, and we're considering the whole moment to be a phenomena of mind and the journeyer to be a part of the content of the mind, the levels of the mind, the more you look at it as some, imagine here, you look at it from inside, it's always beyond you. You look at it from outside, You are always beyond it. So you can say those who find non-duality, they have been privileged enough in life to notice themselves outside of their mind. Because if you think about it, look at even how we speak about it. We say my mind, my body, you know. We say my body is this, that person's found their mind, lost their mind, this whole thing. It's as if when we say my mind, who is that my if the mind is the person? That means if we say my mind, if we were the mind, how could we notice it? In Vedanta, they say if you were like if there was a golden object and you were the gold, if you were the experience of the gold, you would never know what gold is. The only reason you can know that you're something is because you're noticing that outside of what you're being, that self you're being. So the whole thing about mysticism and comprehending the nature of the mind is that I would say free will is inside. Sorry. How would I say? Okay, imagine like there's a sphere around you. When you're in the sphere, you are defined by the language of the world. When you step beyond the language of the world, so that's it. Outside of this sphere, experience is moving existence. Inside the sphere, existence is moving experience. Pretty much like life is like the light after it has gone through a lens. And before life, it was as if the light before it had gone through a lens. It's like thinking about the beginning of the universe having what reason? That means how can you reason nothing, something coming from nothing? There is nothing there before to even be able to compare to have a reasonable analysis. Reason is a method for duality. But anytime, and it's not even a method for duality, as a method for duality, it's limited to the variables you have. That means you are as reasonable as you're aware of the situation. It's not something like reason is a power somebody has or their brain wiring. Every person is like some potential in a processor. Everybody's like a data processor, biological data processor, okay? And so this data processor, what is the point of it? Of course, there is the processor, but then there is how the data, what data is processed, where the processing goes. That means ever since man dismissed the personification of the unknown, he realized that the only way accessible is himself being the personification of the unknown. That means, strangely, in our current times, it's as if people, it's like people don't believe in God, but people experience like they're being God. Do you know what I mean? It's literally like a movement around an idea. For me, all language is a city. It's architecture. It's just a city that's built in the mind of people. That's the difference of language. And it's like you're journeying through the city. When I give talks, it's as if like just like how I would walk in an art gallery. Instead, I'm like the artwork and the art gallery is walking past me. That's how it feels. Terence McKenna, of course, for me, science has a hidden value. But I remember hearing Terence McKenna speak about it, and he was saying something about science being the peak of credulity. That from nothing something emerges. Really, everything is the peak of credulity if we think about it in an instant. That means without time, time is like the pillar that is keeping our knowledge as valuable. If there was a situation where there was no time, or we were timeless, or we were in a timeless world from the beginning, even though we had a sense of time, you know, life is really, you can say the mind is kind of echoing the body. The body, you can choose to move in a certain way, but any moment in this life you choose to move, there's an opportunity cost. If you choose to move if you choose to go left, you haven't gone right. If you choose to go right, you haven't gone left. So when it comes to judgment, you can endlessly judge. You can endlessly judge your own value. There's been days where I've bowed to the mirror, and there's been days I couldn't stand the man in the mirror. That means a person can live so inefficiently that they feel they don't deserve efficiency. But because it's such a rare opportunity to be a biological being, it's definitely everybody deserves efficiency. So let me continue on in this way, that we say the mind, it is an object being a subject, and a subject being an object simultaneously. When we feel a subject is being an object, we feel there's free will, we feel we're a mind, you know? When it's an object that became a subject, you know, that is moving a subject rather than a subject moving an object, when the object moves the subject that has moved the object feels like it is secondary. So anytime, right now I'm a biological, physical, elemental being. Imagine if there was a nuclear explosion, or there was some sort of meteor hitting, or there was something that was happening to the physical, elemental realm. Do you know? It would be in that moment where I would smoothly transition from being an object that is moving the subjective meaning of the world into a subject watching the objective meaning of the world change. And it is possible. We are living lives as minds, and we don't realize it. You know, in certain traditions, it's like traditional. It's an archaic idea, but it's very cool. It's an idea that when the person sleeps, they are actually living in their other body. You know, that means every time you sleep, that's technically when your soul goes to work. When you wake up, you know, your body goes to work. When you dream, your mind goes to work. When you sleep, your soul goes to work. You know, complexity can be defined as the addition of dimensions. That means you can put one piece of paper, you know, or here, check this out. You can get, like, imagine you had like 10 glass tiles, okay? 10 glass tiles. And you drew on this glass tile, you know, you drew a shape, Let's say you drew a shape, you drew some random lines, okay? Then, let's say an hour later, you came back, you picked up another glass tile and you drew another shape. An hour after, you picked up another glass tile and you endlessly drew different shapes, and then you'd suddenly notice if you put all these glass tiles on top of one another, you would have an incredible complex shape. So you can say an incredible complex shape is success, victory in this modern age, right? But you can't go spontaneously. That means there's many people want to get to the top of the mountain, but they don't realize you got to climb it. It means it's endless experiences. There is no sudden victory, because if a sudden victory comes, you won't notice it. Technically, after you win a couple times in life, you realize there's victories everywhere. It's just the person hasn't noticed. That means your chaotic self and your ordered self, they are potentials. They're always capable of being animate. In any moment I could pick up something, I could drink from a glass of water gently, or I could after drinking the glass of water, slam the glass on the ground, for no reason. It's like, I'm telling you, it becomes like a situation where you have multiple moves. And that's what I'm saying. The mind's life is multidimensional. The body's life, what you're going to do, it's one program, it's literally like sitting in an airplane. You don't have a choice. It's like you can't sit on an airplane and be like, I wish this was a different airplane. You can't. It's the airplane you are in. You have opened your eyes as a passenger, and then after we are a passenger, I have created the term Sado in a book I wrote called The Source of Language, which I may read from today. We must activate a life the mind never expected. We should inject genius into chaos, so that chaos realizes genius uses every tool it can find. That means I don't know how many people have attempted in life to invent something, whether they were a kid or whatever age in their life. If you have attempted to invent something, that is street smart psychology. You are looking at multiple separate dimensions that don't have meaning, and as they come to the same moment, as levels are built, as multiple experiences are made, it's as if more of the canvas is being painted and more of the picture is being seen. So whoever is listening, live this life. It's unknown. If you make it a known analysis, you can very easily make the value of it empty and be reckless. Let me tell you, there's a right way to use a bridge and there's a wrong way to use a bridge. And right now, more than using any kind of physical bridge, we have to bridge the inner realms of human beings. And this can only happen with Renaissance-like evolutionary leaps in language. It has to happen. We have to push our minds beyond the languages that contain them. And the only way we can is experience. This is why so many people in modern times, as they enter a system, because we're a natural being, but we're building it on natural a design of a civilization for ourselves, we have no choice. We're in limbo. It's like the future. We don't belong to our future, and we don't belong to our past because it's past. So the past is gone and the future is not natural. And we're in the middle. We're like, what do we do? And some people are like, yo man, maybe we should meditate. Meditate before the world becomes a metal box. I thought about something very strange. We want, as human beings, the idea of world peace. But then we think about, we want to survive in the most skilled and efficient way, and we realize we have genetical memory, right? So I was thinking, what if all the wars that have been fought, all the vicious things human beings have been doing, on a design level, they have a merit, and on a story implication in regards to the world story, and on that level, they have a meaning. So what that means is, that means we have actually, we don't know this for certain, but I'm just attempting to communicate in a way where as if it had an actuality. We are taking turns being in the world and being the world. There is a moment where Sri Ramana Maharshi, he says, everything you have learnt will be forgotten. As if everything you have held, every question your mind has fathomed, every answer that you have tattooed on your mind. Guys, most likely in a little bit I may end the talk, so the Discord link is in the description. You can click it and I'll meet the audience there afterwards, the viewers. Shri Ramana Maharshi says everything you've learned has to be forgotten. That's why I'm saying be playful with language. There is no truth. Language may appear as a mirage of a statue of glory, but it is. Language is how an unknown mind breathes. Because what does it mean? Every time we blink, it's a new view of the world. So the mind suddenly experiences absence of world. The mind, the fact that we're blinking, it's making our brain have a heartbeat. I think the neurons are waving. I feel the neurons are like, this is what I think is going on. I think the brain is actually like a seashore, and with every breath, the waves come, and with every blink and every heartbeat, pulse, the inhalation, exhalation, they are waves, they hit the shore, so the neurons do an imprint. But then the shores of the inhalation, exhalation, they wipe the neurons clean. Then the neurons do another imprint. So what's going on is a part of nature is erasing itself, and a part of nature is rewriting itself. Right? And the brain is doing this not just because it's only the brain, because there's epigenetical factors, there's cosmological factors. You think the moon has an influence on ocean waves? You think the moon doesn't have an influence on the liquid in your brain? It's like little did we know the moon is controlling all our minds. The whole cosmos is brainwashing us. Every time we blink, we're washing our brain, I think. So anyways, guys, I'm just saying that don't fear complexity in life. Simple stuff, once they layer up and as dimensions pile up, they suddenly become complex. You don't clean your table, your work table. After a while, you'll see it's like there is no work table. It's become a storage place. People might not believe how much paper I have on my table. Sometimes I think if the table could speak, it'd be like, hey man, it's like, this is too much. You're writing too much. The mind gives an ability to animate the moment. You are a rare evolutionary animal that has somehow become a subject to itself. As we slow hand subconsciously for evolution, we find the temporary nature of the world daunting. And if we decide to live in the outer realms, then the task of life will become outer. I am a person who personally I've decided to actually How can I tell you? Imagine you reach the peak of a mountain only to realize that there was the same thing. You know, it's like climbing a mountain and realizing the purpose of climbing a mountain. You know what the purpose of climbing a mountain is? Is to climb it down. It neutralizes its purpose. And I feel liberating acts or novelty is enlightenment. The new is revelation. This is why for me, revelation is not in books, it's also in the weather forecast. It's also in every morning I wake up. You know, it's like, what more revelation do you need? The world is revealed to you, you're in it. You know, now the thing is, if we choose to focus on the outer realms, we have to literally unite. So the armies of mankind, the intellectual armies, the armies of the minds of mankind have to immediately sit down, perceive the dimension, the plane of existence as it is, you know, and what that's something in Vedanta, very crucial. That it's like wisdom means not you seeing what you want or getting what you want. Wisdom means you get a chance to see what's there. Because selfishness is there until yourself finds joy. Selfishness is like an animal you gotta feed. You gotta feed yourself like an animal. You know, that means, like, honestly, anytime I've been selfish, I felt like a mouse just eating cheese in a corner. You know? Like that selfishness makes you honestly, it's like in this life actions can amplify your life force or they can reduce it. I realized two things that amplify the life force. One, the person stops vocalizing their own weakness to the world indirectly. That means stop talking about yourself as if you don't have the strength to be you when you're designed to be you. That means there is a silence that's a mystical silence, and then there's a silence where civilization stops complaining about how bad it is and we start building the place. You know? For me, I'm like, Jesus, it's like really suffering has become the whole point of it. You know? Suffering is a mental thing. Technically, you don't have to move and you can get rid of suffering. You know, technically you could be wherever and you can receive a signal beyond the time. That's what intuition is. Intuition is literally how I feel. Intuition feels to me like a glove that the hand in that glove that points in moments of intensity is a component of the being. That means, check this out. When we are all existing like an ocean, but we are having experiences like icebergs in an ocean. So existence is the ocean, conscious experience as an individual being is the iceberg. And there is the tip of the iceberg, and then there is the rest of the iceberg that is not seen. You know, sometimes I speak about an advanced civilization like a palace. Imagine a palace. Now this palace, imagine the king is like, who made this? Imagine a king goes into this palace and they live peacefully and it's an epic divine palace. Suddenly the king notices something and people in the town start saying, king, this palace goes deeper. Dig the ground. And the king gives this order and they start digging the ground and they see this palace is going lower and lower, and it was just the tip of the iceberg of the palace. The palace went towards the center of the earth as this giant architectural feat, you know, as if it was architecture that had stemmed out of the earth, you know. So I see civilization as the tip of an iceberg. But existentially, nothing to freak out. Existence doesn't die. Experience just changes. You know? I don't see rocks crying, about how they're going to break one day. You know, I don't see leaves screaming as they fall from trees. A leaf takes it more like a man than actually man acknowledges the idea of death. Guys, it's hilarious. There's something cool about silence that it can be attributed anything to. Your conscious mind is the tip of the iceberg. The mystic, upon getting rid of the archetype, stopped. It was as if the iceberg melted. That's true non-duality. But it means you can also become the iceberg at any time. You know? Just in the context of this metaphor, guys. I'm using. Guys, something very silly is that when I realized that the universe has been sculpted by temperature, that means technically you can say temperature is the hand of God. background background radiation, guys, is it's God's microwave. Oh man, that's hilarious. Just because we're people, we're personifying the universe. Anytime there's an experience beyond the personality, you're going to see geometry, science, different languages are used in different states of mind. In my inner realms, mathematical and geometrical language makes it very easy to travel. So your attention, it might not be easy for the person to see themselves as something, but it is very easy in the inner realms to see yourself as a shape. So I can't tell you how many times in my inner realms I have moved this is something very personal I'm saying, but as an inverted triangle. I have moved as an inverted triangle. I don't know how people are going to understand this, but literally it's as if just like how you get in a car, imagine in your inner realms geometry is a vehicle, shape and design is a vehicle. So that means if you are to become aware of your inner realms, you will become experientially aligned. When you become experientially aligned, you access instant design. When you access instant design, you realize it's as if it's like what happens when you stop searching for truth. Could it be that that's when truth finds you? When there is no expectation, yet at the same time there is endurance? Because in Taoism, when I was reading Lao Tzu's work and the Tao Te Ching, when Lao Tzu says action through inaction, pretty much it's like Taoism to me is pretty much a bunch of people, telling Lao Tzu, what is this? And Lao Tzu is saying, it can't be said. The Tao that can be spoken about is not the real Tao. I think honestly the pronunciation of it maybe was like Tao or something, but I don't know. Time changes even sounds. You know what's fascinating? It's like everything we listen to changes the type of listener we are. Everything we experience changes the type of experiencer we are. For me, philosophy, poetry, knowledge, history, it's literally minds communicating uh, beyond bodies. That's what it is. That means Socrates, he doesn't physically exist, but content that emerged during his physical existence has echoed somehow. So I would say a progress beyond complexity, a simplicity that was no longer standing under its understanding. The world is just moving shapes. The rest is our imagination. I mean, actually, I would say it this way, that we're so conditioned to think that truth has to be singular, that we haven't given ourselves the privilege to wonder if it's okay to build a civilization that multidimensionally experiences itself. The journeyer is changing. Every experience, like a new chemical reaction, transforms the chemical. That means as we experience in the world, we change ourselves and we also change the world. It's impossible to live somewhere and not have an effect there. You know, it's impossible to exist and not have some sort of meaning. That means you can say everybody has a meaning, but it could be a value given 0. It doesn't mean it's no meaning. It just means that the meaning is not there yet. You know? So many things in life, they're not clear at first. You go first become a fool in it and you attempt simply. As you attempt simply, as you fail, you can say failure is a blessing in the sense that it's an invitation of the art form. So anything that person does, because it's new to you, there's more probability of making mistakes, so failure is expected. So if you run into the game or any battlefield with the expectation of not having victory, but reducing the percentage of possibility of defeat, that means, as Rumi says, your task is not to search for love, but to get rid of all the barriers you have made against it. That means the barriers to success. That means there are some generals, they're like, yeah, we want to win. Yeah. They just run in the battlefield. But then there's some generals who they want to win, but they also realize the other person wants to win. And so some generals, their whole aim, so many people don't realize this, but a lot of generals, two great generals that would fight, you know, their whole aim, a lot of, like, it was on some level it was immoral, but on another level they would have to try things out to see how the other general is thinking. That means the moment you can see the blind spot of your opponent has lost. If you can see the blind spot of your opponent and your opponent cannot see your blind spot, and cannot even see you seeing their blind spot, then it's as if the game is over. It's like chess. You've seen checkmate, the other person hasn't seen it yet. You know? Let me tell you, we should think of it this way. We are actually incredibly able beings. It's just that the system we have designed, the first prototype civilization 1.0, it does not engage, does not activate these abilities. Pretty much we have been surfing on ocean waves. Now we need to surf on waves of simulated sensory existence. Trust me, you may feel like a fool for many years sometimes. But the fool walked simply. And that's the secret to endless endurance. If you want to succeed at anything, technically it means just continue at a certain time span. At any long enough time span, if there's continuity, something will happen. You know? I personally feel in life that because I treat the world as if it's alive, because I see that there's an inseparability of what I see as being my whole moment, so it doesn't matter whether it's an outer realm phenomena or it's an inner realm noumenon. It's as if, think of it this way. You are the only child of the planet that can notice your mother, that can notice the existence of your source. Hang on, guys. I'm going to get you a Discord link. I was pretty sure the Discord link was set to never expire, but there we go. Alright, guys. So I updated the Discord link in the description of the video. I'll post it here as well. In the Ribu Gita, it says, "Don't dwell into this world like a bewildered beast." Because everybody has been doing that. That's the basic. Honestly, I do speak about violence being unnecessary now, but really when I think about history, it's been the norm. You know, we started from savageness, and as the ancient Greeks said, to tame the savageness of man and make make gentle the life of this world. To tame the savageness of man and make gentle the life of this world. So it's totally fine. On a rock in the middle of nowhere, moving at 18.5 miles per hour, per second, I think. Jesus Christ, what was this? I'm just saying we're on a rock in the middle of nowhere, a pebble in a light beam technically. It's totally okay to freak out. You have actually more reasons to freak out in this world than to actually be calm and civil and gentle. It's just that to be calm and civil and gentle, those are luxuries of the mind. Okay, here. Okay, check this out. Earth travels about 2.6 million kilometers a day. So the Earth is moving around the sun. Wait, is that correct? Okay, guys, I'm going to read this, something I found here, which I definitely think this is important to share. The sun has an orbit of its own in the Milky Way. The sun is about 25,000 light years from the center of the galaxy, and the Milky Way is at least 100,000 light years across. We're thought to be about halfway out from the center according to Stanford University. The sun and the solar system appear to be moving at 200 kilometers per second, or at an average speed of 448,000 miles per hour, 720,000 kilometers per hour. Even at this rapid speed, the solar system would take about 230 million years to travel all the way around the Milky Way. The Milky Way too moves in space relative to other galaxies. In about 4 billion years, the Milky Way will collide with its nearest neighbor, the Andromeda Galaxy. The two are rushing toward each other at about 70 miles per second, 112 kilometers per second. Everything in the universe is, therefore, in motion. And we're here trying to find static truths, fighting over beliefs. Everything is in motion, but we're fighting over beliefs. Do you believe that? Okay. So, guys, to take this talk to completion, I feel I still need to say a few things about it. So, think of it this way: it's an unknown journeyer, an unknown video game character, okay. Nature is geometric. We're this unknown video game character. Okay, we find ourselves as we engage the realm, the levels unlock. So as we actually live in the world, we level up. But if the character does nothing, it doesn't level up. Now, if we're considering that the simulation is made of geometry, we look at a snowflake, we see a geometry, we atoms to us are geometry. So technically, we are in a geometrical universe. So I would say matter is geometry. We don't realize it. Matter is geometry, which makes it very comprehensible why geometry will be the next language where it's going to be events. So words are going to be like events. Imagine a language where the symbols in that language are multidimensional events, pretty much. So this character in the video game, the levels only relate to it when it sees the world and actually engages it. So it would eventually go to the complexity of geometry. So the more dimensions we add to the moment, the more complex it becomes. If nature is geometry, then it's as if we are experiencing more complex geometry. And if complexity is either seen as adding dimensions or seen as connecting points, so we come to inevitably, regardless in how we want to level up in the realm, to what is where the value system of the moment is coming from. I can say we are. Sorry, guys, I can't read my own handwriting here. We are an unknown fact simulator. We are an unknown fact simulator, or we are a fact simulator in the unknown. We are a. We are. We are a fact. We are a known. Well, I mean, fact is no. So I would say we are. We are a fact stimulator as part of an unknown cosmic engine. So what it is you got to agree to the fact. So the fact exists for the person who can see it. So all language is pretty much hollow until there's attention on it. So I would say ultimately, whatever DNA the person has, whatever uh, design of humanity they find themselves in, your attention is the hidden clue to the potential of reality not being reality, but reality being actually surreality. That there was nothing real, nothing normal about reality. It is completely surreal. We are creatures on a rock that suddenly began talking. I mean, like, it's like, doesn't get more next level than that. So, anyways, guys, thanks for listening. I hope this episode was helpful. Honor geometry, honor the advancement of civilization, and you know how they would say, treat your neighbor like yourself, treat thy neighbor like thyself, or something. Like, I would tell you now, if you treat yourself as a multidimensional being with a known um, with a known dimension and an unknown dimension, with a known expression and unknown potential to express. So what that means is the more sophisticated the communicator's vision on the self becomes, the more advanced it becomes. Ultimate advancement on this planet for an individual is diversity without separateness. So diversity without separateness means we all treat each other as unique, but we simultaneously treat each other as equal. So we are horizontally equal, vertically everybody's unique. And so we find a way to thrive as a civilization by adding dimensions rather than having one small room for truth and everybody's fighting to get in that room. Every ideology is fighting to get in that room. Who said that the mind isn't multidimensional? Alan Watts says, imagine going to sleep and never waking up. Now imagine waking up and having never gone to sleep. That is the glow of an advanced civilization. That we are, even though we are temporary beings, but we're living as if the temporary wants to continue on eternally. I mean, what is the whole human enterprise? We want to pretty much like spread our genes. You know what's hilarious? Pretty much we want to overpopulate the whole solar system. So this is going to be hilarious. But an interstellar civilization is technically a civilization that is reproducing everywhere. So pretty much we want to just, have sex everywhere, all over the galaxy, and that's like the ultimate motive of our human our human lineage. It's like, why are we building an interstellar civilization? It's like because we want to party on other planets. Can you imagine, like, in the future, civilization becomes so advanced for the prom of people in school, like it becomes it becomes like going in a space station. It's like, how was your prom? What's your memory of your prom? Yeah, it was in a space station. Everybody had a suit, but a different kind of suit. We gotta playfully build an advanced civilization without suffering too much. I mean, that's the Rubik's Cube, the ultimate Rubik's Cube. How do we get what's behind our eyes, inform our eyes in a way that we all agree? And the only solution is we all have to build something, and there will come, you can say, like how the body, when a person gets a cut, the white blood cells go to war to defend the body from invasion or infection, bacterial invasion. It would be a situation where trust in the advanced civilization, and you'll see that a river already knows where it's going. An advanced civilization is something where we will build ourselves toward it only to realize we have always been in it. It's like, I don't know. It's like we're all patterns floating in the void, and if out of nowhere there has come possibility of different intelligent moments of free will to do something. I mean, why are we here on a rock? What can we do? You know, I hope to see the day that an advanced civilization becomes the most beautiful and incredible idea to the human being, to every human being. It's what that it's something, an advanced civilization, that if you as a person feel you don't deserve an advanced civilization, you can bypass that view by just realizing your grandchildren do. Without forgiveness, the no torch can be passed on. That means, imagine you're an Olympian and you're running and you're about to pass the torch, and the person who you're about to pass the torch is not grabbing the torch from you, and you're just standing there for like a couple minutes until that oblivious Olympian suddenly realizes what's going on, you know? And so what it means is that we require tolerance in any system where there could be imperfection and inefficiency. That means if chaos has come to you, if you can't do anything, you got to wait it out until you find an opening. And when you find an opening, as you live for yourself, the world lives for you. It's strange. The moment you start caring for yourself as if you are that hidden hero you're waiting for, the world will honor you. I'm telling you, when the mind of man bows at the cosmos, there is tears of joys echoing towards the edges of the universe. You don't understand. There's this picture I'll show you that many people take this metaphysical idea for granted. But last thing, guys, before I end off, I've been trying to end off for like 20 minutes. Guys, this is a picture that's drawn on the Sistine Chapel in Italy. And if you look at the picture, I mean, I'll explain the four other angels after, but I'll tell you this. You see that the first look at the man, the archetype of human beings on earth, the man. Do you see? The man is oblivious. The man is not reaching for the God that's curtained. Do you know? Only man is just chilling, right? So when man is chilling, when man is preferenceless, when man is observant, it's as if the divine comes to meet the mind. Do you know? And if you notice, there's a curtain, but then you see the angels that see man. These are like the first angels. So I would say the angel that sees man is Archangel Gabriel. Do you see? You see that angel in the left, what do you call it? The left hand of the God. And the angels are curtained. This means I want you to see that the space between the finger of man and God, their hands are touching, you know, but they're touching through space. That means space connects man and God. Or man and the unknown possibility of intelligence as a whole cosmic organism level. The other angels, really, I was actually thinking myself, what are these angels doing? And I realized these other angels, perhaps, they could be, actually, these angels on the side could be the archangels. I don't know. But for me, it's like different dimensions. Just like how human consciousness has an authorization that's limited for now to planetary. You can say there has been energetic intelligence that has been authorized to exist in different ways, in different dimensional viewpoints. Anyways, guys, thanks for listening, and remember, in this life, many people will come and go in your life, but one thing that has always remained with you, that has always been with you, is not the voice of any man. It is the unchanging witness within. When you find the presence of the moment, experience is the teacher of words that are trying to touch worlds. Our eyes are open if we don't think they are closed first. Namaste.